And we are back with episode 21 of season 2 of Mushoku Tensei. We're reviewing that episode. I'm reviewing that episode. It's a solo squad for me. Just kind of doing it by myself, just kind of the way people's I guess schedules panned out that we just weren't able to get everybody together. So I decided to kind of do it myself. Episode 21, Magic Circle to the Sixth Stratum. I really enjoyed the episode. It felt like it's a setup episode for the last plunge that they're going to do next week. But I really liked it. I think we always hear, especially when it comes to isekais, we hear the word adventurer and all this stuff, but we don't really get to see it. And the best the best one that really comes to my mind that shows kind of like that day-to-day aspect is Goblin Slayer. Goblin Slayer does a really good job of that. But then to kind of see it in the show itself was pretty cool, seeing how the little extra preparation they got to make because remember when they got to the last episode, they found like this is the point of no return. Even the guy who wrote the book never got past this level, so they got to do everything they can to get ready. Um, but let's just kind of start over from the top. That little opening moment before um the opening itself, we kind of get to see how Roxy, we kind of, a little bit of what Roxy got to do to get in her, and like all the trials and tribulations she had to kind of go through until Rudy rescues her, which was I thought was a really fun addition. I really like the makeup of Paul's party, even though I do wish they had one more frontline fighter. But I feel that a lot with a lot of other series like Goblin Slayer. I think if his party had one more fighter, like for instance, if they just got the heavy warrior or the spearman to fight with them, I think they'd be a tremendous party, which would allow the lizard priest to be more of a midfielder, so to speak, from a soccer term. Then, um, and then it really most of the time never hurts to have another um frontline fighter in a party. But I've said enough about that. I I guess I really liked how they did the dichotomy between Rudy and Roxy, especially because Roxy she hadn't seen him since he was a little boy, so she couldn't recognize him at first, and then of course Rudy was shocked by that, but then it was just very well done, and then obviously Roxy um shooting her shot, so to speak. But the one thing I guess if I had to give an MVP, I'd give it to Paul because Paul analyzes. I can't really pick one, but I really liked the idea that Paul understood what was going on with Roxy and Rudy more than anybody else. And he was the one, through a metaphor or innuendos or whatever you want to call it, he basically says, hey, look, I have two wives, because then for those of you that don't know, Lilia is his wife now, not just his maid. Um, Something happened on the trip. I think I yeah. So when they were on the trip, you know how we saw I think a couple episodes ago where Rudy was caught up by the succubus? Yeah. Paul was caught up as well, and Lilia kind of like offered herself up to Paul, and then Paul them got married. Um, According to I believe Miller's tradition. So Paul kind of saying, look, I love my one. He's like, I love my one sword, but now that I have two, it's like I feel even more powerful. If I remember it exactly, I'm trying to make sure I remember it exactly. But he basically just told Rudy, hey man, it's okay to have two wives, especially given Zenith is a very hardened like believer, so is Norn. So he's just kind of trying to prep Rudy as much as he can. And then that's all this episode was. Not really a lot to speak of in terms of like a lot of lore parts, other than watching Rudy and Roxy kind of talk some more as they get together. Oh, as they pull their resources together to go down. Nothing much, man. I just thought it was fun just watching them interact again. We hadn't seen that in a long time. And then they kind of talk like, "Oh God, you're in the same." Because remember, they were in that one city, but they miss each other by like a couple like minutes. Where like they're both down the same alley, but Rudy turned right as Roxy turned left. Like it was just one of those where like they could have seen each other back then, but just fate didn't have it in the plans. But that's it. It's a really small one. Hopefully next week the guys come back so we can have conversations again, because it's getting near a pretty big moment in terms of the story, and we got to talk about it. And That's basically it. Make sure you thank you guys. Thank your fathers for I believe next week's Father's Day. So, do something nice for your daddies, do something nice for your father. Let me not use that term. And I will see you guys next week. Hopefully, with all the guys. This is a real quick, short one, but I like the banter that we have back and forth, especially with people who haven't caught up to the story, and then I kind of fill it in. So I will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.